Hello and happy holidays. I'm Dan West, the president of the Livonia Chamber of Commerce, and we welcome you to Inside Livonia with Mayor Maureen Brosnan. This program will provide an update on what has gone on in our city during this incredible year, while looking forward to some encouraging developments for 2021. We are grateful the mayor has taken time to work with us on this informative virtual program. We will hear more from the mayor shortly. We have many great partners with the city and the chamber who provided support to today's program. We're grateful to our keynote sponsors, St. Mary Mercy Livonia, Alpha USA, Schoolcraft College, NYX Incorporated, Bill Brown Ford, and Masco Corporation. We are also grateful for our registration sponsors, Beaumont Health, Embassy Title Agency, Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union, and the law firm of Fosson Bond. We also want to acknowledge the Livonia City television crew for producing this event, and Madonna University for letting us work at their Dairy Studios inside the beautiful Franciscan Center. It is my honor to represent the Livonia Chamber of Commerce in this partnership with the City of Livonia to present this program. The Livonia Chamber of Commerce is a nonpartisan, nonprofit trade organization that has served the business community in and around Livonia for 70 years. We represent nearly 1,000 members focused on three big picture goals: advancing the future skilled and technical workforce, promoting regional collaboration, and building a culture of inclusion. Like all of us, our business community faced enormous challenges with closures and limitations in response to the coronavirus. We had many emotional interactions with business owners who are looking to survive these challenges. Many of our local business owners are not wealthy people. Many small business owners put all their savings and dreams into a concept in the hope of successfully growing that new enterprise. These local entrepreneurs embrace the risk of starting the enterprise with the reality that all new businesses have a 50-50 shot of survival in the first 18 months in operation. And that's in a normal environment without a pandemic. If the business fails, these people have no safety net. Livonia's larger businesses and residents responded with the great community spirit that has long marked this city. We purchased gift certificates and carry-out orders from our favorite restaurants. We bought supplies from hardware stores for our home and garden projects. We invested our unused vacation money into local contractors who renovated our homes. We continued to make donations to charities that couldn't hold events. We continued to buy new homes in our city, and we played a lot of golf on our city's courses. To my fellow Livonians, please continue to support our local restaurants with carry-out orders and gift certificate purchases in these days again when they cannot open for inside dining. Many of these restaurant owners are our neighbors who often generously support to our school, church, and community events. They need our support now. This year has taught us to be nimble. This was demonstrated by many businesses who quickly transitioned to make personal protection equipment so it was available immediately to our frontline responders and businesses. Many companies donated these new products they made. Not all our businesses will survive this challenging year, but the local support so far has stabilized many other operations. This will put our community into a position to rebound next year once we emerge from the worst of this pandemic. We put our faith in our community over the fear of COVID, and this will enable us to see brighter days and normal community actions in the near future. And now, to highlight more examples of the resilience we've seen in Livonia this year, we will now hear from Mayor Brosnan. In January, she took office as Livonia's first female mayor in the city's 70-year history. A longtime Livonia City Councilwoman, she also chairs the Board of Directors for St. Mary Mercy Livonia. She will discuss the city's response to COVID-19 pandemic before sitting down with me for further discussion about her vision for our community's future. Here's Livonia Mayor Maureen Brosnan.
Thanks, Dan. You know, I wish we could all be together in person to have this discussion, but as usual, Dan, you and the Chamber of Commerce have risen to the challenge in creating a fantastic forum as our next best option. So thank you, Dan, for all you and your members are doing to support our city. You know, I also want to take a moment to thank Madonna University for hosting today's conversation. COVID-19 has left an indelible mark on our nation and on our community, and everyone has been affected by this crisis. Livonia is no exception. but I am incredibly proud of our city's response to the pandemic. It really was an all hands-on-deck effort. From the city leadership team to residents to our business community, Livonia businesses, big and small, really stepped up this year to support our community. Jacobson Steel retooled to make disinfectant wipes. Livonia Chrysler Jeep and Marygrove Awning hosted blood drives. Alpha USA and DO Apparel made face masks. Novastar Solutions made ventilator parts, and Ford Motor Company generously donated PPE. At City Hall, we took this threat seriously from the start. We were one of the first communities that moved employees to remote work, and we instituted furloughs to keep employees safe, which allowed employees to take advantage of special federal unemployment support and help the city keep our costs in line. We also stepped up our communication with residents, and we were the first city to provide daily COVID updates and regular video messages that carried out on our city website and Facebook. Throughout it all, city services continued. I'm grateful for the work of our entire leadership team in adjusting to this unprecedented challenge, and I am most grateful to the 635 employees who work hard every single day, providing reliable services for residents and businesses, while at the same time navigating the changes forced on us by the continued threat of COVID-19. Leaves were picked up in record-breaking time, contracts were negotiated, budgets were passed, pools and golf courses were opened, parks were maintained, the inspection of new buildings and home improvements continued. Seniors still took the bus to their doctors, the library delivered books to cars, the treasurer continued collecting taxes, and everyone kept working in amazingly safe, innovative ways. One shining example of innovation that grew out of the pandemic is our Together Livonia Cares program. We initiated this one-of-a-kind response to the health crisis that unfolded at Livonia's many long-term care facilities that were devastated by COVID-19 early in the pandemic. Together Livonia Cares has a big goal: to save lives. We brought the talents of the Emergency Management Department, the Livonia Fire Department, Economic Development, and Parks and Recreation together in an unprecedented way to collect donations of personal protective equipment, PPE, and to distribute these to senior care facilities. Thousands of items were given out. We shared best practices on how to use PPE and quarantine patients at the 22 long-term care facilities that are located in our city. Livonia firefighters also dispense hundreds of COVID-19 tests to city employees and, more importantly, to residents in our city-owned senior housing sites at a crucial time early in the pandemic. This was critical in slowing the spread of the coronavirus among our most vulnerable population, our seniors. And for the first time, we offered an on-site flu shot for all city employees to avoid a dual pandemic. I'm proud of Together Livonia Cares. It's a one-of-a-kind program in Michigan, and I know that it's going to continue to provide and prove to be vital in the years ahead, especially as the first COVID-19 vaccines are released in the coming days. Because of this program, Livonia stands ready to support the delivery of the vaccine to our most vulnerable populations and to our frontline workers. COVID-19 has consumed so much of our attention this year, but that hasn't stopped us. A lot of significant work is happening in the city, and I'm excited to share some of that today. We've remained focused on what I call our 4 big rocks. These are the goals of my administration. Our job is to move those big rocks forward every single day. These long-term priorities are: number 1, keeping Livonia safe by filling our shortage of police officers and firefighters. 2, securing more money for our roads. 3, building a world-class job training program here in Livonia for kids who are not bound for that 4-year college degree. And 4, implementing Livonia Vision 21. This is the city's amazingly visionary master plan built by you, Livonia residents. And here's the irony. COVID has provided us unique opportunities to change how we do business in the city, and in some ways, to move the plan along further, faster. Whether that be by accelerating our capacity to use technology through remote work, by breaking down silos to collaborate better, using every platform to communicate better with our residents, by putting greater focus on our seniors and our public health infrastructure, or by rethinking how we deliver city parks and recreation services better and more safely. the City of Livonia has met the COVID-19 crisis head-on in a way that leaves us standing on a firm foundation, headed into the new year, ready to build and grow together.
Well, Mayor, great opening comments
Thank you.
with that right now. I was thinking the last time you and I sat down like this,
Yeah.
it's back in February. We did our first ever cityscape, and a few things have changed in the last 10 months.
Just a few.
Yeah, just a few things. What we were talking about then and what we're talking about now is definitely there's been an audible there.
Yeah.
But as I look back, as you assess the COVID issues you and your team have had to assess this year, what are some of the visuals that stand out most to you?
Oh, gosh. You know, Together Livonia Cares, which you heard me talk about in the intro there, is clearly one of the things that I will remember as a hallmark, a signature of how we as a city managed COVID-19. And then secondarily, the election. You can't ignore the visual of thousands of people coming into City Hall, hundreds of them every day, or driving by the red mailbox, just really flowing into City Hall to make sure that they voted. And on top of all of that, we had, trying to manage COVID, keeping everybody safe in City Hall. And our city clerk did an amazing job of managing not only a record turnout, but making sure that everybody stayed safe and that the election results were accurate in the end. So that was a really proud moment for us as a city. We saw all of our departments. It was all hands on deck. Everybody was helping out. But the clerk's office really stood head and shoulders above everybody else in making sure that that was an exemplary performance, really. And then City Hall itself. You know, I'm used to going into this building that, quite honestly, is a little bit antiquated. And we saw it instantly have to be transformed in order to keep 635 employees safe. So we see a lot more plexiglass. The arrows are on the floor. The dots are on the floor, reminding people to social distance. We've got hand sanitation stations set up. You know, masks are available everywhere throughout City Hall. We had to lock down the elevators. We now have somebody that, is there to greet you as you come in through the front door. And everything about City Hall changed. Some of that was good, though. We don't want to ignore the fact that, this is a building that has not been amazingly safe for us, not just from a health perspective, but really from a personal safety sake. And so some of the changes that we made have helped us to move that building along to become a safer space for people, for workers, for our residents too. But the building itself is in need of a lot of love, and we'll save that conversation for another day. How's that?
Absolutely. Well, another city facility that has been COVID-proof, if you will, or COVID-adjusted, has been the rec center as well, with the spacing. And you had that additional space with the old gym set up right there. Talk about some of the things that were done at the rec center.
So, all of the equipment had to be spaced further apart than it ever was before. And this was one of those just good fortune situations where we had already talked about renovating the rec center. And we had the gymnastics program move out of some space. So it created an open opportunity for us to expand the area where a lot of our equipment was. So we went in and renovated that space, put new lighting, new floors, new electrical in, and now it is really a safe space for folks to exercise, which we've seen is so important in people's ability to manage through this crisis. They need to find outlets, and the rec center has continued to be an outlet.
Absolutely.
The other one, Dan, I don't want to forget in terms of visuals, because it is the one that probably maybe is our proudest moment, or it makes me proud as mayor, was when we did the tribute to the frontline heroes. And I know that you were there, your team was there, and this was a chance for the community as a whole to recognize the work that was being done by our police officers, our firefighters, and all of the personnel at St. Mary Mercy Hospital. And, when the ladder truck went up and hung the banner, just saying thank you to our heroes, for me anyway, and I know for a lot of people in the community, that was just a point in time that made it very clear to us that in the earliest, toughest days of this crisis, that the strength and then the unbreakable spirit of Livonia, the charity of the residents of Livonia, was going to be the thing that rose to the surface and carried us through.
And it was so organic, too. It's not like it was staged. It really just organically happened, too, which is another example of the community spirit.
Absolutely.
Let's get into some other issues. One of the things that you talked about last when you first came on, and Mayor, actually it was about a year ago now that you were officially sworn in as our new mayor, was public safety and getting new contracts for police and fire, and additionally enhancing the recruitment efforts for both departments as well. Where do we stand with both of those items?
So, you know, that was the single biggest issue that I had to address when first taking office. And here's one where it really was a 1-2 punch. Here we are, we're short police officers, we're short firefighters, we get hit with COVID, and all of a sudden we're down even more because our frontline responders, our first responders, have got to quarantine at various points in time. You know, one day we were down 14 police officers. That's not a good position for a city like Livonia to be in. So what we did was we really continued to stay strong on trying to negotiate through the pandemic. And I want to thank our unions for sticking right with us. Nobody took their foot off the gas. Negotiations continued, and as a result, today, for example, we've got a collective bargaining agreement with our firefighters. And just by way of example, talk about a game changer, the difference that a good contract can make to a city. We were short, I think it was 8 firefighters at the time. Last week, I swore in 5 new firefighters.
Okay.
And by the first part of January, we're expecting to be fully staffed in the fire department. That all happened over the course of the past 2 months once that contract was put into place. So it just shows what a remarkable difference can be made with a great offer for our police officers and firefighters. Now, police is right on the cusp of being negotiated and finalizing the details there, and I am certain that we are going to see that same type of momentum building to make sure that we're able to not only recruit police officers, but to retain the ones that we have.
Obviously, the contract is a key in being more attractive for candidates and getting the best of the best to come here, and it sounds like that's what you're able to accomplish.
Absolutely. It is vitally important to our community.
Another issue, you and I both served on the Master Plan Committee back in 18 and 19, and we, City Council approved what was Livonia Vision 2021 last year, and this was another big thing that you talked about when you came into office at the start of this year. Talk a little bit about where we're standing at with the Master Plan right now.
Well, I want to back up because, you know, even before I took office, you and the Chamber of Commerce afforded us an opportunity to put a whole bunch of significant opinion leaders on a bus and tour them around Livonia to take a look at what it was that the community had envisioned with Livonia Vision 21. So Livonia Vision 21, you know, the first words that come out of my mouth all the time when I talk about that plan is the fact that it is built by this community. It needs to be moved forward by the leadership of the community, but it's been built by residents. This is a long-term plan that talks about the sustainability of our community, not only from a development perspective, but from an environmental perspective, from a social perspective. We talk about arts and culture being a linchpin for the advancement of Livonia, for example, in Livonia Vision 21. We cover a lot of ground with that plan. And so we've done some things in order to advance it. Again, this is one of those things where it would have been easy to have taken our eye off the ball, given COVID and everything that it was throwing our way, but we didn't. We understood instinctively in the city that one of the keys to managing a large-scale plan like Livonia Vision 21 was to make sure that we had the underpinnings in place, that we had department heads in the right jobs, doing the right things. The city lacked a communications department. So we reorganized some of our departments in order to make space for a communications department. What a fantastic time to be doing that, because our need for communications increased greatly throughout COVID. So here we are building this department at a time we need it the most, and now we're going to have it in place in order to help us advance this major mission of our city. In doing that, in reorganizing the departments, we also took a look at realigning our commissions, making sure that all of our commissions are fitting in with the goals and objectives of Livonia Vision 21. The idea is that we want everybody to be rowing in the same direction. So the other part of this, kind of like the foundation of a master plan, is the zoning plan for a community. So early in 2021, the Planning Commission is going to be the first group of people that's going to be able to take a look at a new zoning plan for the city of Livonia. Department heads have been working on this for quite some time, but it's going to be ready for introduction. We're also have not taken our eye off the notion that we need to make sure that we've got an integrated bike walk network in the city of Livonia. So we are applying for a grant right now that connects Hines Park with Stark Road. And we're hoping that, with that grant, we'll be able to make that continuity of pathways a reality here in Livonia.
And I believe with the bike trails and walking trails and stuff like that, we talk about COVID and making the outdoor opportunities more necessary in the community and more welcoming. And I guess another thing, it advanced what was already being discussed in Parks and Recreation with what's going on in that area.
Absolutely. And, while we're doing all of this stuff internally within City Hall and under great city leadership from department heads, developers continue to be interested and intrigued. They haven't stopped. They're visionary people. We have a number of them that are looking at developing that missing middle housing area in our community that is going to be so vital to our ability to attract young families here. So, COVID in general has not kept us from looking to the future.
Well, and one thing that jumps out is that housing, all the new housing stock that's being built, additionally, all the new residents moving to the area. What happens, a lot of those new homes are being bought by Livonia residents, so it allows more people to move in, and housing prices continue to go up, and that's been amazing to see at a year where you think the economy is struggling, but not with our homes.
No, and it's hard to find a house available in Livonia for sale these days. So testimony to the fact that we really are a great place to build families and be located.
As long as we're residents of the state of Michigan, we're going to talk about roads.
Yep.
And I guess, can you give us an update on the battle you've had? I mean, obviously there's all the COVID challenges, but the discussion for road dollars from the federal and the state and the county level continues to be something that you're working on. Where do we stand out with road projects going forward?
So there is no doubt about it. I mean, this was going to be a tough rock to move. When I talk about the 4 big rocks, this was going to be a heavy lift. The COVID challenges have made this one even tougher. So part of what we understand that we need to do is that we need to make it really clear to legislators at the federal, at the state, and the county level what our Livonia priorities are. So we have really stepped up our effort in communicating with them, letting them know where our priority projects are, building the relationships that are going to hopefully advance that, knowing that we're going to still continue to have to arm wrestle for what it is that we need, because every community is out there doing the exact same thing. So one of the things, though, that I think is really impressive as we look to where we've come from and where we're at, we use a rating system to rate our road system, our Livonia road system, that we and the taxpayers are responsible for maintaining using millage funds. And 2 years ago, we had a rating of 71.5% of our roads were rated good to fair. 2 years later, now today, 87% of our roads are rated good to fair. So here's the message and the takeaway from all of that is that Livonia residents, through a millage that they passed, have been able to take care of our own internal road system. We've done a really good job of that. We are still going to have to arm wrestle for the federal and the state and the county funding. On a county level, you're going to see signs under construction along the Merriman and Joy Road area. That's going to be a single biggest point of reconstruction on road projects this coming year. And the one extra, the bonus that we fought really hard to get was to change that left-hand turn signal at Joy Road in Merriman. So working together with the county and a unique partnership there, we're going to be able to make that happen.
Another significant issue that happened through the course of this year, the George Floyd killing back in May, led to some protests here in Livonia, led to protests all across the country, as a lot of people became concerned about race relations and issues with police response. Locally, what have you taken away from those and what those issues and what has been done to respond to it so far?
So, I want to start by saying that I am really grateful for the chance to lead the city at this time. These are unique challenges, and they're challenges that run deep in all communities. Livonia is not unique in that regard. This is one of those, diversity and inclusion as an area of focus was one of those things that I really wanted to be able to get to, but didn't think I'd get a chance to get my arms around so early in my administration. So the chance to make sure that Livonia is viewed by others as the community that we know we are. We know we are an arms wide open community. We know we wish and that we support diversity and inclusion in our community. We know that this enhances our economy in Livonia. We know that it enhances our social structure in Livonia. But making sure that we get that message out there is the challenge that I have as mayor. So I am really grateful for the partnerships that we've been able to form with Masco, with Ford Motor Company, St. Mary Mercy Hospital. They have all helped us to engage in a conversation about diversity and inclusion and what it means in our city. We've worked together with our police department in putting together a much more transparent way of talking about crime and traffic stops and all of those data points in our community. It's called Police and Community Together, PACT. It happens to be a front runner, a leader throughout the region in how you report those types of statistics, amazingly transparent. And we have plans to make it even more transparent, easier to read, more in sync with what's going on so that other communities can share that kind of data in the same platform, in the same way, so that communities are operating more regionally. Livonia is leading that effort. So I am amazingly proud at the pioneering spirit that we have brought to this project. And it's more than a project. It's the way we do business in Livonia. So part of what we've done, though, too, in working with PACT is there's an Office of Professional Standards that has been established within the police department that oversees all of the accreditation and the training. They are also overseeing a new social and mental health partnership with a deep understanding that a lot of the work that we do in policing is really work that we're doing on the mental health front first. So working to bring specialists to our team that understand that work is part of what we're going to see happening in our community in a really innovative project that you're going to get a chance to hear more about. And then, of course, my office directly, I'm hoping makes a difference by revitalizing our Human Relations Commission. For years, our Human Relations Commission did a wonderful job of hosting Martin Luther King Day and some activities around that. But that appeared to be the focus for that commission. The focus for the commission has been broadened now, and the commission is now charged with creating space for the conversations that we need to have about social justice, conversations that we need to have in order to drive change.
I think the key thing in the business community to what you're talking about is the need to sincerely welcome all people and make people all welcome. And this has been an issue that the Chamber's discussed for the last 4 or 5 years on the diversity and inclusion, welcoming all cultures, welcoming all people to our community, because it is so important to make people feel welcomed for the talent that we need for the customers coming in. It is in the community's best interest. And actually, our Chamber's doing another diversity, equity, inclusion session on bias on January 27th. And we're working with the Michigan Roundtable for Diversity and Inclusion. I know an organization that you've worked with as well this year. And what has been your takeaway so far with the discussions you've had with them, with bias, and where do you think this is going to go in the near future?
So, the biggest takeaway is that people need to see themselves or somebody else like themselves involved in city government in order to feel comfortable. So we're working a lot on the city front. First of all, to your point about the Michigan Roundtable, we've brought Michigan Roundtable in to help us to train all of our staff at City Hall in diversity and inclusion. We'd not had that kind of training before, so we've started at the top. Unfortunately, once again, we started it right before COVID hit, and we haven't been able to get too much of it under our belt because a lot of that training happens in small group settings. So we haven't been able to do as much of it as we want, but we did manage to get through our first round training with our leadership team, but eventually the goal is to reach all 635 employees. The second goal is to make sure that we have a more diverse group of people that serve on our boards and commissions. And we have really stepped up our effort in filling board and commission spots with a diversity that Livonia has perhaps not seen before. And I'm not just talking about a racial and an ethnic diversity. We're talking about diversity in age as well. making sure that there's a better balance of men and women that are on our boards and commissions. So we're seeing it on all fronts, and my office in particular is making a real concerted effort to asking people to raise their hands, to step up to the challenge of being a part of the fabric of a community, helping us to advance this big agenda that we have by serving on boards and commissions.
Mayor, for many years you've served on the St. Mary Mercy Livonia Board of Directors. You're currently chair on that board now, which has given you enormous amount of background and experience into community health. How have you been able to deploy that experience in your first year as mayor?
Boy, I cannot begin to tell you what good fortune it has been to have served on the St. Mary Mercy Board for over 17 years. You know, the impact of COVID-19 was clearly a public health impact. So understanding not only how, you know, a community operates from an emergency management perspective, but then being able to rely on the skills and the knowledge of the hospital that's in your backyard, St. Mary Mercy Hospital, to help with the health aspect of it and understanding the medical side of things and being able to bring those two groups together. You know, Livonia is unique in that we've got that resource, you know, one of the nation's best regional hospitals right in our backyard with all of that talent. And we work very closely between our emergency management department and our fire department and St. Mary Mercy Hospital to come together around what it was that the community was needing when it needed it the most. That relationship has, you know, in many ways, we've formed our own little public health department. That's amazingly unique for a community our size. So coming out of that is obviously Together Livonia Cares was one of the things that came out of that, helped us to really manage the crisis that was going on in our long-term care facilities. You know, we have 22 long-term care facilities in Livonia, and they were impacted severely by COVID-19. St. Mary Mercy has put together a group that on a regular basis talks with those 22 facilities and affords everybody the opportunity to come together around best practices, and we're intimately involved in all of those discussions. So it's a unique partnership, one that I think is going to take us well beyond COVID-19, and this is again one of those, you know, amazing things, good things that have come out of this pandemic. You know, I have this audacious goal, and I know that it is big, it is crazy, it is out there, but I want Livonia to be the healthiest city in the United States. I truly believe that people come here to live here longer. Think about it. We've got one of the best regional healthcare systems in our city right here. We have the largest amount of park space available in any city in the state of Michigan. So you've got recreation opportunities. You combine that with all of the recreation opportunities that are available through our nonprofit organizations, our, you know, soccer and our baseball and the LJL and all of that that's available. You've now got, you know, Schoolcraft College over there that's got a volleyball program that is going to be the best in the region, and Madonna University recently introducing a football program. I mean, there are all sorts of healthy initiatives that are going on in our community. And there's just no way that we aren't already that. We just have to start talking about it more.
Well, and one of the things we talked a couple years ago, as many as 15,000 young people participate in some sort of organized sports activities, lessons, what have you, that live in the city right now, with all the sports you talked about and all the facilities we have. And then additionally, in addition to everything that St. Mary Mercy Livonia offers, we have other expansion of health facilities. Beaumont's building a facility in town. We've got St. Joseph Mercy Health building a facility on Schoolcraft College. We have the President's University of Michigan, Henry Ford Health System. Providence has a facility here. You look at all those resources that we have. Not only we have these resources right here, there's going to be a lot of need for really talented people to help us with your health mission going forward.
Absolutely. And I do think it's one of those things where, you know, it's a driver for all of those things that we want to do. It's a driver for why people are going to want to locate here, why they're going to want to raise their families here. So I know it's been a passion of yours, you know, especially surrounding sport in Livonia. You think that's a real way to bring people together and bring a community together. I don't want to forget the Green Mead Project too. That has been a real passion of yours as well. Talk about outdoor activities, something anything that can help us, to promote that good mental health. That's one of the things that we learn, not only from our emergency management folks and from our first responders, but from our friends over at the hospital. They tell us the single biggest issue plaguing the community right now coming out of COVID-19 is mental health. And so we as a community have looked at ways to help people continue to have some degree of normalcy in their life. And I know you've been right along our side doing that. The holiday show at Greenmead is one of those great examples of just trying to re-envision, what do we do with space? And it's a project that's going to grow into the future as well.
It's just important for families to have some ability to celebrate the holiday and have fun in an appropriate fashion in this current environment.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate yourself and Ted Davis and the team at Parks and Recreation helping us make that possible. So I appreciate that. Mary, we have a couple questions for you from some business folks in our town. Our first question will come from a gentleman who's on your Human Relations Commission, a former member of our board at the Livonia Chamber, and he's a small business owner. We have a question from Hytham Fakuri.
This is Hytham Fakuri, owner of Bold Media Marketing. Mayor Brosnan, what, if anything, has surprised you most about being mayor in your first year? What's it like being the mayor?
What's it like being the mayor? Well, it is not unlike what I expected it to be. I knew that this was a tough and challenging job, but I also knew that I would have the opportunity to work with some of the most talented people in the region. And every day, that is one of the most satisfying things, is working with department heads that are so amazingly gifted at what they do and so amazingly dedicated to doing good things for close to 100,000 residents in our city. But I will say, COVID did throw us for a loop here, and I do feel like I'm kind of juggling knives every once in a while. I say that a lot. It's not just a matter of keeping those 4 big rocks at the forefront. It's a matter of keeping a community safe. It's a matter of talking to a community on a regular basis about how we all keep each other safe, and putting those programs in place to do that. But I have amazing hope and just an incredible, deep-seated belief that Livonia's best days are still left to come. And I so appreciate the honor and the opportunity to serve every single day when I walk into that office.
I may be going on a ledge right here. I'm going to assume this year is not boring for you.
No,
I'm going to assume that wasn't the case.
No, not in the least. This has been, it's been an exciting way to test your leadership. Our city council has had a chance to test its leadership. Our department heads, as well as our clerk, our treasurer, all of these city leaders, and they have stepped up to the challenge. Everybody has. You in your leadership role. I mean, across the city, people have stepped up to the challenge of COVID-19.
Adversity reveals character. We've seen a lot of great character come out of so many people in our community, no doubt. We have another question from you. This is from a large business representative. She is a current member of our Livonia Chamber Board of Directors. We now have a question from Sue Sabo.
Hi, Mayor Brosnan. This is Sue Sabo, Director of Corporate Communications and Philanthropy at Masco Corporation. First, before I ask you my 2 questions, I'd like to commend you and your team for the success you've had during this challenging year. And then I have 2 questions. My first question is this. If you are a business in the city of Livonia and you want to get more involved with the city, where should you start? Who do you contact? And the second question would be, what support is the city in most need of from the business community?
That's a great question, and I'm so glad that it was asked by Masco, somebody from Masco, because Masco has been such an amazing community partner. Early on when we talked about diversity and inclusion and the need for us to advance a program within our city, they stepped up with a $50,000 grant to the city so that we could continue to advance a diversity and inclusion program in Livonia. And recently, Masco, one of their employees raised their hand to serve on the Human Relations Commission because this is a part of their corporate mission. It aligns very much with the city that they're building their business in. So we're really grateful for that. There are, Dan, I don't know if you know, 150 appointments that I make to boards and commissions. And so there is a great opportunity on our board and commission level for people to get involved in all aspects of the city. Everything from how we build our buildings, if you're on the building authority, to how we use our land if you're on the planning commission, to what are we doing with a parks and recreation program? What does a master plan look like if you want to serve on that commission? If you're interested in arts and culture, if you're interested in history, if you're interested in seniors and youth, we have commissions that support all of those efforts. And in particular, if you really want to see us move further, faster on that track to advance Livonia Vision 21, now is the time for people to raise their hand. So what we've got is we've got a website, getinvolvedlivonia.com, that we're asking people to go to. It's a quick, easy form that folks can fill out to let us know that they're interested. Somebody from our staff contacts them, and the conversation begins. And we have found some of our best commissioners through that online method.
Another thing about the follow-up question, one thing you've talked about from day one is workforce development, and it's a passion for the Chamber for several years right now, and our board's been very involved in it. I know we got a lot of things in the hopper for a lot of industry supporting talent and workforce going forward. We appreciate the fact that you continue to work with us in that area.
Thanks, Dan. It's an important rock for us, too.
Yeah, we want to keep our families here. Families are a fabric of our community, and keeping jobs here for all generations plays a big role in that. So. Well, Mayor, I have something for you for doing this.
Christmas and presents?
Yes, I have one of our Livonia Chamber of Commerce tumblers for you to have, something for you to enjoy while on your office. But more importantly, a couple gift certificates from some of our restaurants to continue our effort to help these restaurants out when they can't be open at full strength right now.
That's fantastic.
So that's for you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. Thank you.
The Livonia Chamber of Commerce looks forward to meeting with you again next year in a hopefully more traditional State of the City program next year where everybody can see your energy in person, and I definitely look forward to that opportunity. With that, we thank our sponsors and our partners for making this event possible. We thank all of you for taking time to watch and stay in tuned with our wonderful community. Finally, we definitely look forward to the time when 2020 is definitely hindsight. Thank you for watching this program today, and take care.
While 2020 has been an incredibly challenging year for the city of Livonia, it has also reminded us of our community's strength, our unbreakable spirit, and our charity to one another. Do you remember how our community united to support our first responders in so many ways? There were demonstrations of appreciation to our hospitals. There were signs in front of homes, ribbons tied on trees, and supporters bringing meals to our police and fire stations. Livonia has always rallied together in tough times, and we come together to overcome our challenges. Every step of the way, this reminds me of why I felt called to serve this community. I continue to believe that Livonia has incredible potential, that we've only just begun to imagine where we can go. Livonia's brightest days are still ahead of us, and together we are going to ensure that this is a city our children want to come home to. That's the goal of Livonia Vision 21, the plan built by our community to set us on a path to realize this bright future. And after everything we've been through this year, I am even more convinced that we can make this vision our reality.